Why must we excel in our studies? This is not a question, it is an affirmative proposition, a truth that needs no proof. From the moment our consciousness was still nascent, this proposition was etched into our minds. It didn't come from school. It came from long before that. It came from our very own homes. The safest sanctuary was, in fact, the very place that planted the first seeds of manipulation. It is called expectation. It all begins very innocently. It's a mother's smile when you get a good grade. It's a father's proud pat on the head, a small gift, simple rewards for a recognized effort. But this is basic training, a conditioning process. You learn that doing well means receiving positive attention, but gradually, the rules of the game change without your knowledge. Love, which should have been unconditional, begins to come with small stipulations. You are only recognized when you are at the top. You are only worthy of pride when your name is called out. When you fail, when you only get a decent grade, you don't receive comfort. You receive silence, undisguised disappointment, sometimes a sigh. That silence is more terrifying than any reprimand. It sends a clear message: you have let them down. This is the foundational manipulation technique, conditional love. The child learns a core lesson. Their self-worth is not inherent to their existence. Their worth lies in their performance. They learn to equate parental approval with grades. They learn that love is something to be earned, to be fought for, not something freely given. This is the first invisible shackle. This shackle binds the child's perception of self-worth to the numbers on a report card. They begin to believe, I am my grades. And when they succeed, the reward is sweet. It's the pride in their parents' eyes. It's the feeling of being good, of being smart. This feeling is addictive. It's a temporary sedative, soothing all anxiety about being abandoned or seen as useless. And just like any addiction, you need a higher dose next time. A 9 is no longer enough. You need a 10. You need an award. But relying solely on the desire for recognition is not enough. That desire might fade as the child grows and finds other sources of validation. To ensure absolute obedience, a more potent weapon is used: guilt. This is the guilt-tripping technique. It starts with classic phrases. Your parents have sacrificed everything for you. We work this hard just so you can study. We don't need you to repay us, we just need you to study hard. Your only job is to study and you can't even do that right. These are not laments, they are psychological levers. They turn love into a transaction. They create a debt that can never be repaid, an emotional debt. This debt grows with every meal, every new set of clothes, every tuition fee. The child now carries two burdens. First, the desire to be loved through achievement. Second, the fear of being a disappointment, a guilty fear of wasting their parents' sacrifice. These two burdens completely distort the motivation for learning. Learning is no longer about discovery. Learning becomes an obligation. It's not about self-development. It's about repaying a debt. It's the only way to prove that they are not a burden, that their existence is justified. And then the classic term appears: other people's children. This is a non-existent competitor, an unreachable standard, a perfect ghost who is always one step ahead of you. This social comparison technique pushes the child into an unreal race, one where they are always in second place. It turns the home environment, which should be a sanctuary, into a psychological arena. Every action is monitored, not by a cane, but by a gaze. The gaze of expectation. The gaze of comparison. You study because you're afraid of losing to it, that fictional specter. You study because you don't want to see the disappointment in your parents' eyes when they look at you and think of it. This comparison instills chronic low self-esteem. It teaches you that your value depends not only on your achievements, but on your achievements being better than others. It kills cooperation. It fosters envy. You no longer feel happy about your 9 if someone else's child got a 10. You start seeing your peers not as friends, but as rivals. Your entire worldview becomes warped. You stop being curious about the world because curiosity is seen as a waste of time. You stop being creative because creativity doesn't produce grades. You are only called smart when you memorize the correct answers and adhere to the grading rubric. Independent thinking is seen as stubbornness, as rebellion. And success no longer has anything to do with happiness or fulfillment. It is just a checklist, a prestigious school, a degree, a single pre-drawn path. Anything outside that path is considered failure, a stupid risk. This value system isn't just injected daily. It becomes the air you breathe. It becomes the judgmental voice inside your own skull. Even when your parents aren't there, that voice resounds. It monitors. It judges. It compares. The child has learned to manipulate themselves. They no longer need anyone to force them. They force themselves. They become their own jailer. They gaslight themselves, convincing themselves that fatigue is laziness, that the desire to have fun is selfish and sinful. It is this very conflict between the love you feel and the pressure you endure that creates an internal tear. You begin to ask yourself, am I selfish for feeling tired? Am I wrong for wanting a different path? Is wanting to rest a betrayal of my parents? And to extinguish that doubt, to suppress the rising guilt, you choose the safest path. Obedience. You study. You study maniacally. You don't study for knowledge. You don't study out of curiosity about the world. You study for safety. You study for recognition. You study to soothe your guilt. You study to prove that your parents' sacrifice was worth it. You become an efficient learning machine. You pride yourself on your discipline. You pride yourself on your ability to withstand pressure. But you don't realize the cost. The cost is curiosity. You stop asking, why does the world work this way? You only ask, will this be on the test? The cost is personal interest. Drawing, playing music, sports, all are dismissed as time wasters, as luxuries that obstruct the one true path to success. You voluntarily trade your childhood, your hobbies, and your personal discoveries for numbers. You don't realize that at that very moment, you have voluntarily tightened the trap that was initially planted. You have been perfectly programmed. You are programmed to seek external validation. You have learned to ignore your own needs to please others. Your intrinsic motivation has been extinguished, replaced by a borrowed one. You are ready for the next stage of this process. You have been perfectly trained to enter a larger machine, a system designed to exploit precisely your kind of person. The education system. You enter this machine perfectly prepared. Your family has already programmed you with a craving for recognition and a fear of guilt. The education system welcomes you. It doesn't need to manipulate you from scratch. It just needs to take over and amplify what is already there. This is not a place for discovery. This is a factory. A large-scale production line designed to create a single product, compliant citizens. The first thing the system does is strip you of your individuality. You are no longer an individual with unique interests and curiosities. You are a student ID number. You are a position on a class list. You are a point on a chart. This dehumanization is necessary because the machine cannot operate with unpredictable variables. It needs uniformity. Uniformity is achieved through uniforms, through fixed schedules, through ridiculously detailed codes of conduct. But the most powerful tool isn't any of those. The most powerful tool is the standardization of success. And that standardization has a name, the ranking chart. If at home, other people's children was a vague specter, at school, it is a tangible entity, updated monthly and posted publicly. This is a masterful psychological manipulation technique. Social comparison is made public and weaponized. It doesn't just tell you where you stand, it tells everyone where you stand. Your name is pinned up there. Your position determines your value in the eyes of your peers, your teachers, and yourself. The ranking chart turns learning from a personal process into a brutal contact sport. You don't study to understand, you study to defeat the person next to you. You feel happy when your friend gets a low grade, not because you are malicious, but because it means your rank is safer. The system has succeeded in breaking cooperation. It turns everyone into rivals. Along with the rankings comes fear, the fear of public failure, the fear of being called out in class, the fear of being criticized, of being shamed. Shame is a more effective control tool than any physical punishment. When you answer incorrectly, you don't just lose points, you lose face. You become a warning to others. And so, you learn to be silent. You don't raise your hand unless you are 100% certain. You don't ask stupid questions for fear of being judged. Curiosity, already eroded at home, is now officially extinguished at school. The system has no room for the question, why? It only cares about the question, what? What is on the test? What is the correct answer? And to ensure everything is measurable, knowledge is chopped up, standardized. It is turned into multiple-choice tests and rigid grading rubrics. This is the most sophisticated trap of excelling in school. You realize that creative thinking, critical thinking, or connecting complex ideas often doesn't yield high scores. Sometimes, they are even penalized. What brings in points is the ability to memorize formulas and apply the correct templates. Your brain begins to change. You stop thinking deeply. You start multiple-choice thinking. You look at a problem and try to guess which answer is the safest, which answer the grader wants to hear. You are no longer learning to understand the world. You are learning to hack the system. You become an expert in following procedures. You know exactly how to write an introduction. You know exactly how many supporting points to use. You know how to present a math problem to please the grader, even if you don't truly understand its essence. You study well. You top the rankings. You are the perfect product the system desires. You are rewarded for it. You are called an all-around excellent student. Your parents are proud. Your teachers see you as an example. You have everything you were taught to desire, but you have lost one thing. You have lost the ability to think for yourself. The system doesn't do this out of malice. It does this for efficiency. An industrial society needs workers who know how to follow procedures. It needs gears that fit the machine. It doesn't need independent thinkers, people who ask questions, rebels. And the education system is the front line for producing those gears. The trap has snapped shut. You weren't just manipulated by your family to seek external validation. Now, you have been trained by the system to excel at compliance. Compliance has become your second nature. You have learned to monitor yourself even more strictly than your parents or teachers. You are ready for the third stage. The stage where you no longer need anyone to force you. The stage where you enslave yourself. In this stage, no one is monitoring you. No parents, no teachers, no ranking chart taped to the wall. This is precisely what makes it the most dangerous. Because the monitor, the enforcer, is now inside you. The voice of expectation, of comparison, of guilt, has become your own voice. You have internalized the oppressor. You have become a willing slave. You enter university, or your first workplace. The initial freedom is overwhelming. No one checks your homework daily. No one cares if you stay up late. But this freedom panics you. You were programmed to function on pressure. When the external pressure disappears, you feel lost. You feel empty. And to fill that void, you seek a new God. That God is named productivity. If excelling in school was your measure of worth as a child, then productivity is your measure of worth as an adult. You begin to apply the exact same techniques that were used to control you onto yourself. You gaslight yourself. When your body screams that it's tired, the voice inside you whispers, "That's laziness." When your brain begs for a break, for a moment of useless joy, that voice judges, "That's a waste of time." You start treating your life like a project to be optimized. You create minute-by-minute schedules. You use task management apps. Your to-do list becomes your Bible. And the feeling of crossing an item off that list, that is your drug. It provides a fleeting hit of accomplishment, a brief relief from the constant underlying guilt. The guilt that you haven't tried hard enough, haven't been efficient enough. It's an addiction. The addiction of the check mark. You no longer do the work for the sake of the work. You do it to cross it off the list. You join clubs not because you're passionate. You join to build your resume. You learn a new skill not because you're curious. You learn it because it's useful for the future. Every decision is filtered through the lens of efficiency. Will this get me ahead? Is this the most optimal use of my time? You pride yourself on your discipline. You pride yourself on sleeping 5 hours a day. You pride yourself on being able to answer emails while eating. You wear burnout as a badge of honor. You are a perfect productivity machine. This is the trap of toxic productivity. You are no longer living, you are operating. You are managing a project called a successful life. And then, the inevitable happens. You burn out. But it's not a sudden collapse, not a loud explosion. It's a slow erosion, a hollowing out from the inside. It starts with cynicism. You begin to ask, what is all this for? You still cross items off the list, but you no longer feel the satisfaction. The drug has lost its effect. All that's left is the fatigue and the guilt for being fatigued. The cynicism turns into apathy. You complete your work perfectly, but you feel nothing. You achieve the goal, get the honors degree, get the promotion, but you are completely empty inside. The feeling of success lasts only seconds before the inner voice asks, what's next? Where is the bigger goal? You look at the people around you, people who seem happy with simple pleasures, and you don't understand them. You have forgotten how to feel pure joy, joy that isn't attached to a goal or an achievement. Everything is tasteless. The colors of life have vanished, leaving only the gray of your tasks. The trap has snapped shut perfectly. Your family taught you that your worth comes from external approval. School taught you that your worth comes from procedural compliance. And now, you have taught yourself that your worth comes from your productivity. You have completely identified your self-worth with your output. And when you reach the pinnacle of excelling in school, the pinnacle of productivity, you realize a terrifying truth. Beyond those achievements, you no longer know who you are. You have optimized everything, and the price was yourself. You sacrificed your real self, your real interests, your real passions, your real needs, to build a perfect image of success. You may have everything, the honors degree, the high-paying job, the enviable position, but you have lost your drive. You have lost your meaning. You are trapped in the very machine you built for yourself. And you realize the biggest trap wasn't your parents' expectations or the education system. The biggest trap is the gilded cage of success you have locked yourself into. You are in the cage. It is made of gold. The gold is your degree, your title, your salary, the admiration in others' eyes when they hear about your job. It is everything you were taught to desire. But it is still a cage. You are exhausted. You are empty. You know it. But you cannot leave. The question is no longer, why must we excel in our studies? The question now is, why can't I stop? The first reason, it's a powerful psychological effect called the sunk cost fallacy. You look back. You see your youth. 12 years of primary and secondary school. 4, 6, or more years for university and graduate school. Countless sleepless nights. Countless relationships ignored. Countless hobbies extinguished. You have paid too high a price. You have invested your entire life into this path. This investment becomes an anchor, holding you back. To stop now. To turn in a different direction. It's not just scary. It means you must face a truth. That all those sacrifices could be meaningless. It means admitting you were wrong for 20 years. That you wasted the most precious part of your life chasing something you didn't even want. Facing that truth is more painful than continuing to walk in exhaustion. And so you continue. You tell yourself, just a little longer. I've come this far. I can't stop now. The second reason, it's more subtle. It's called golden handcuffs. You are used to the comfort. You're used to the standard of living, the financial security. You're used to the nice apartment, the new car, the luxury vacations. You're used to the recognition. You're used to being defined by what you do. I am a doctor. I am a senior engineer. I am a lawyer. That title isn't just a job. It's you. It's your entire identity. You hate your job. You dread every Sunday night thinking about Monday, but you fear losing it even more. You fear losing status. You fear losing safety. You fear returning to a normal life. You fear being seen as a failure in the eyes of your family, who sacrificed so much for you. You fear becoming a nobody, starting from scratch. And so, the security you studied so hard to achieve becomes the very wall of the prison that holds you. You are paid just high enough to never dare to leave. This is the final trap of having to excel. It doesn't just control you when you are young. It ensures you will continue to comply when you are an adult. You realize you have lived a borrowed life. The success you have is not yours. It was built on your parents' definition of success. It was built on the education system's metrics. It was built on societal pressure. You are the lead actor in a play written by someone else. You played your part perfectly. You received all the applause. But you know inside, you never truly lived. You learned to ignore your internal compass. When you were young, it whispered that you wanted to draw, to play, to explore. You muffled it with grades and praise. As you grew, it whispered that you were tired, that you were on the wrong path, that this job was killing you. You muffled it with productivity, with salary, with promotions. Until one day, it stopped speaking. The silence inside is even more terrifying than the emptiness. So what is the real trap of excelling in school? It isn't knowledge itself. Knowledge is liberating. It isn't discipline. Discipline is necessary. The trap is the substitution of motivation, a fatal swap. It took away your intrinsic motivation, pure curiosity, the joy of discovery, the inherent desire to understand the world, and it replaced it with extrinsic motivation, grades, rankings, praise, money, status. It trained you not to trust yourself. It taught you that your feelings are wrong, that your fatigue is invalid. It taught you to always look for the answer externally, to seek permission, to seek approval, to look for a grading rubric for your own life. The process, started by the family, reinforced by the school, and perfected by you, has succeeded. It created a high-performing, highly competitive, extremely disciplined, and completely compliant individual. A person who will continue to operate the machine, even as it crushes them, because they no longer know any other way to exist. They have forgotten what it means to be free. They learned to be excellent at everything, except for one thing. They never learned how to live. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this type of content, please hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next video.